it's Amy Tangerine. In honor of National Scrapbooking Day, Simon Says Stamp has asked me to share a video with you. This is a two-part video, and you'll be able to see the other part on my channel, which is linked down below. Thanks so much, and I hope you feel inspired. Let's get started. Here are the supplies that I gathered initially that I knew I wanted to try to incorporate into a scrapbook layout. I've had this mini Misty for some time now, but I haven't actually opened it. I thought this would be a good opportunity to do it and put it to good use. It was Jennifer McGuire who first introduced me to this awesome product and tool a couple years ago when the Misty first came out. I love it, and I have the scrapbook one, but I thought I would put this one to work so that I could stamp on smaller sheets of pattern paper. I've got my 6x6 pad here from my collection with American Crafts called On a Whim. It's the latest one, and I'm just looking for a sheet that would be good to stamp on. I've chosen this aqua one, or mint colored one, and I'm just going to trim it down to about 4x6. All the instructions are outlined on the back of the packaging, so I'm just making sure that I'm doing it right. I'm taking these stamps from my Oh Happy Life collection with American Crafts, and I'm going to use this flower one, and I love that you can place it directly onto the paper where you want it, and then you can just simply fold this clear panel over, press down, and have the stamp stick to the top part. It's a really cool way of getting stamping done, but I wanted to try to do something a little bit different with these Mama Elephant inks that I've had for a little while now, and it just didn't turn out exactly like I pictured. I wanted it to be a little bit bolder, and for some reason I wasn't getting good enough coverage, and I don't know if it's because I've had these stamps for a while, so that looks a little bit better, but I wanted to try another one over on this side. And I'm just going to ink it up, as you can see here. And also the leaves are green. Then I'm going to press down again. And the coverage is okay, but what I decided to do instead as I was sitting here is give it one more shot with another ink. This is the Simon Says Stamp Island Blue ink. And as you can see, there's even more coverage just on the stamp itself. And when I stamped it down, it was exactly what I was looking for. So I went with it. And I know that different inks react differently to different projects and different stamps. But then I also wanted to do one more with this Island Blue. Here we go. That looks great. Next, I'm going to take these cutter bee scissors and simply cut around it. I suppose you can call it fussy cutting. I wish there was a better name for it. For some reason, that term isn't my favorite, and I don't really understand why. But yeah, so I just cut out both the flowers, and then I decided to try something new with this sheet of ombre pattern paper from the 6x6 pad, as well as the doll pink ink from Simon Says Stamp. And I want to do something cool with this Wild About You. Since the paper is ombre itself, I thought it'd be fun to create a similar effect by putting this doll pink on top, and then I'm taking the sunshine and adding it to the bottom portion of the stamp. You can see in the middle that it sort of looks a little bit orangey, which I like the effect of that. I think it looks pretty cool. And although I was very happy with the way it looked, I wanted to see if I could do it one more time. That's the beauty of this Misty stamping tool as well, is that you can just re-ink it if you've made a mistake. And I personally make a lot of mistakes. And here is how it looks. Very pleasing to the eye. And the reason I bring up mistakes is because you're about to see me make a pretty big one after I stamp this first flower. The nice thing about making a mistake, though, is that you can always learn from them and grow from them. And if you're not taking new chances, I know this is just crafting, but if you're not experimenting and trying new things, then you're not really pushing yourself. And I think some of the challenge in coming up with cool creative breakthroughs comes from, whoops, did you see me just trying to stamp with the cover? Yeah, I did that. Okay, so I'm stamping with the ink pad now, and this flower is going to be right on top of Wild About You, and I probably should have just stopped here because I was ahead. I mean, look at how cool this looks. I think it looks pretty cool. But Then I got a little greedy and I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to clean this off and I'm going to be done with it. But then as I was cleaning it, I thought to myself, hey, you know what? It'd be cool if this flower were right here at the bottom too. Here is where I made my mistake, because you saw me rub that wet cloth onto that clear part. Well, I'm going to go in and add a little bit of color here. And I actually felt it move slightly because it was still a little damp from the wipe. Well, as I fold this over and press down, I'm realizing, oh, you know what? This looks pretty good, but not that great. So I'm going to add a little bit more ink to it. And that's when I felt it slip again. And I should have known better. I should have quit while I was ahead. And it did not look good at all. It looked horrible. But because I make a lot of mistakes, if you've seen my YouTube channel before, you know that I do this. And I always find a way of covering it up or fixing it. And hopefully I end up happy with it. Moving on to something that I know I'm pretty good at are these watercolor resist cards, and they're also from the On a Whim collection. And what's really neat about these is you can just apply some watercolor to them and it reveals this design underneath. These are the new Nouveau brush pens, and they're by Tonic Studios. And I opened the turquoise one, but what you have to do is with this yellow one is take off the little yellow band. So I unscrewed it, took off the yellow band, and then you can twist it and kind of feel it snap. And then when you're ready to use it, you just unpop the top like that. And there's a little area where it says push. So you just press down on it so that you can squeeze some of the watercolor out or the ink out. And then you just mix it up onto whatever you're doing. If you want to use some brush lettering, but in this case, because I'm doing sort of an all over design, all over coloring, I'm not sure why I decided to color this whole thing yellow. In hindsight, I probably should have only kept the top portion, because as soon as I put this blue down, it became a little bit more green than I expected. But it was really fun to experiment and see the design being revealed from the resist. If you're like me, you perhaps get really excited about new supplies and sometimes you just look at them, but I personally like to stare at them and then use them. I realized that it was a little too dark red, so I added some water, and then as I was wiping this, I had a little bit of red on the Feeling Fine tag. So a la Bob Ross, I decided that it was a happy accident and went with it and really liked the red on it actually. I wanted to go a little bit more blue in this corner, so I added another layer, making it rainbow. Now moving on to the layout, if you want to see how I got these printed photos from my iPhone wirelessly, be sure to check out the video that's on my channel with our visit to the Museum of Ice Cream. I'll walk you through the museum and also show you how I printed off these photos and finished up the layout. I am going to just add strips of washi tape down this side over here. Because I don't do very much pre-planning, I have a general idea of where I want elements to go. I start off by doing something right away that I know I will like, and that to me prevents me from staring at a blank page too long. I'd rather rearrange and shuffle elements and get something stuck down. Mentally, as I map things out, I'm sort of choosing the favorite pieces that I know I want to include. And I've got those flower cutouts and also this tag that I want to try and incorporate, but I'm not sure if I can fit everything in. Now, I figured out how to cover up part of that flower, I think. And I'm going to do something over here where I stick this down probably with a pop dot to give it some dimension. And now look, you can't even tell that I messed that up. And here is another thing that I'm going to do. Because washi tape is easily removable, I've unstuck that down so that I can slide this piece of paper underneath it and cover up that little bit of ink that I had on there. Great, this gives me a good base to work off of. I know that I want this photo here, so I'll go ahead and stick it down right away with my Tombow adhesive. Next, I want to stamp some clouds, and I know in my head that I want it to be kind of ombre again, but I knew that as soon as I did that, I would have a little bit of a gap because there's that top paper. So I already have a fix for this, and you perhaps already know it, is just to stamp it onto white, and then I'm going to cut it out and place it on top as if I meant to do that. I don't know about you, but I do this all the time where I make these happy little mistakes. I mean, sometimes they're not so happy, but then I figure out ways to get creative around it. This is one of my favorite things to do, especially on cardstock where you don't have to use pattern paper, is to stamp my own. So I'm just taking this circle stamp that's also a part of that same stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp all these random circles around and using a little scrap for the edges so that I don't stamp on my table, which I have also done many times. And here I am just adding some more color so that I can get enough coverage and then start putting other things down. So I'll pop this cloud up with a pop dot, or several pop dots I should say, and stick it right on top. This is where I'm going to leave it for this part of the video. Please check out my channel if you want to see how the page finished coming together. And even if you don't feel like seeing the final result, I hope you've enjoyed this video and feel inspired to get the creative juices flowing. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and thank you so much for watching. Happy National Scrapbooking Day!